Sit on the cat. We're on live right now. TikTok. Sit. Ready to go? I'm gonna have Natalie sit with you, and I'm going to be over here. Uh, Nat, bring the big stool. Bring your plate over here. You don't have to eat over there.
This is drink, right? Regular Coke.
That screen's gonna be bright on your face.
Hi. Welcome. I feel like the NPR lady.
Yes, exactly. All of my podcasts that I listen to. Well, hi there.
You remember that show?
Which one, the NPR show?
The make-believe NPR show.
No.
There's a, I don't know if it's that, somebody did a
SNL?
rip on it. Yeah.
So photographing you guys are on TikTok.
Hi, TikTok. Hello. I feel so happy to be back on TikTok.
I'm going to rotate the camera so it's facing you guys. I will be on the side.
Cool.
So if you send corgis, I will be able to see them.
Any corgis?
Yeah, it's a little corgi gift. Have you seen them?
No.
No.
So there you go.
I know the bear one, the baby bear one.
So the corgi, it comes up at the bottom of the
Stop.
screen and it shakes its little butt. And it looks
You have your phone?
I have my phone right here.
Awesome. Is it charged?
Should be, I think.
And the charger.
Can I let people in? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn your microphone.
I think that helps, right? I turn it off.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you,
I go to people.
okay, oh. Yay. Up here now, I see everybody.
You see everyone there?
I see, yep.
Let me see. Let me see.
Shay and Lovely are here. Hello, Shay and Lovely. Bro, I love it. I think you've been here. I think Lovely, you've been here before. Got a couple more minutes to go. And listen, it's like, it's literally a whole 8 minutes or, 10 minutes away from the unofficial kickoff time.
Do you hear that bird? It sounds like an owl, but I don't think it's an owl.
No, I've heard that. I've heard a bird like that down here before, though.
Yeah.
I hear
You hear
it.
it?
Mhm. Okay. Yep, that sounds like an owl.
hello,
As we speak.
people.
Hello, people who are.
So we talk to there then?
Because the camera's here. Here's where the
Okay.
audience is.
See.
This is just up here for a frame of reference for me to like kind
Or
of
who's talking?
know who's here and help let people in.
You brought the iPad? Awesome. And the charger. Thank you. That's water is one.
This what?
That's water.
There's water behind.
Oh, this
Maybe
is
put it
water
over
right here? Okay. And it's only 3 minutes until we got, minutes to go. Minutes to go.
Because we start on what?
6 or 6 is
minutes.
the official,
6 minutes.
is the unofficial kickoff time.
So
But,
If you wanna talk to the folks on TikTok.
oh, that's true. We're streaming on TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, so what I'm gonna do actually is, I'm gonna bring you guys closer.
Okay.
I'll put you guys here, hold on one second.
The amount of technology that we have is incredible.
I was just thinking that.
Unbelievable.
I'm looking at this little.
State of the art
gimbal
fucking-
sort of-
Little thingy thing we
it's
got
really
going
crazy.
on,
Yes, it's very intense,
very high speed, very high
We
speed.
got high speed around here, no lie.
So we have this. we have
And you all
this.
are welcome to turn on your cameras or on your microphones and say hello and visit.
If you want.
Mark, oh, Miss C. Hello, Mark. How are you? Good, awesome. So we're gonna get started in a couple minutes. Hello, Miss C. I know, this is a very fun topic
I
for you to be.
read the first question.
Oh, yeah, while we're
And I
waiting.
snickered.
I'll go get the questions and I'll drop them in the chat. Thank you for reminding me to do that.
If you want, text me the questions
Yeah, they're gonna
as
be,
well,
okay.
and I'll drop them into the TikTok chat.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
So for the folks that are first tuning in, you wanna tell them what we're doing?
Okay, so this is our weekly Kinky Conversations. It's a 1 hour topic driven discussion every week that we do at 6 p.m. Eastern time, where we talk about a whole host of different things. You know, kinky people are just like regular people in terms of all of the life's experiences that affect us all. And so this is just 1 hour dedicated to real conversation on real subjects that affect us. Some of us very deeply. Some of the conversations we've had on these Tuesday calls have been really, really moving, really deep. People are really forthcoming and honest. And so I've learned a lot. And I feel like this is like the week hour of the week I look forward to.
What's the agenda is a question on TikTok.
The agenda is, we open the hour. I usually say a couple of minutes of something worth why I made this topic, what I was thinking of when I picked the topic. And then we just go around, people raise hands, we use the raise hand. And then we have conversation, back and forth. We try to be mindful of the time so that when you speak, you know, say what you need to say, keep the focus on yourself, like your experience. We're really here sharing our own personal experiences with things. This isn't really like, I'm not teaching anybody anything. This isn't an advice situation. This is like, I'm sharing with you what my life experience is, and then I learn when you share yours.
Send the questions to you.
Was
that your phone?
I don't think so.
Might have
I
been
don't
mine.
even know
I
where
don't
my
know.
phone is.
I have it.
Okay. Let's see. Where's this chat?
So for all the folks on TikTok, I'm over here on the left, I'm moderating today. And to join via Zoom, you can find the link on the events page for the Kink Collective on Facebook and or FetLife.
Or the website, kingcollective.net. Find it on the event page there.
Or the website.
Or the website.
kinkcollective.net.
Or the website.
And I'm normally not in this seat in front of the camera, but
But
I decided that I wanted to join today because I have a lot to say about
About
body
this.
positivity and the struggles of body image and
Your
We'll see.
relationship with-
Yeah. Well, I think we all have
oh yeah.
issues. I don't know that anyone in the world
Did you check my
anywhere.
questions?
I did.
Okay.
Um,
Can you send me the link to this? Because I want to send it to
sure.
Tom.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, so I'm gonna drop this in the question.
Uh,
I guess more so it's just been taking up a large amount of my headspace for the past couple of years, so it seems really relevant.
There's the link to you in your text. So let's see, it's 6:02. We'll give it another minute or two for people to drop in.
Tell them why you give the 6-minute window.
I give a 6 minute window because it's been my theory that since COVID, we all got really, really used to showing up at the very last second to something. because of Zoom rooms don't open early and people don't show up early. So now, Karen says they can't hear us very well. Maybe I need to speak up more. I'm Madeline. I see you. Try it now. Kieran, can you hear us now? Cosmo, are we good? Does that help?
Better, but still a little distant.
Okay. So while we do some technical maneuvering, the question was just asked, why do we wait a couple minutes? And that's why, because people drop in last minute, and that's cool. And it also gives everybody just an extra minute or two to kind of come in and settle down. I see faces, I see names that are brand new, faces that are new, and I also see people who are here and have been with us either in person or on this call for a while now. So welcome back to everybody.
Yeah, I concur with Cosmo. It's better.
It's better. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So we'll just make sure we speak up. We'll project to the microphone. So let's see, it's 6:03. We'll go ahead and get started. I usually wait 3 more minutes, but I don't feel like it.
Let's get started.
All right. So this week's topic is how to build a positive self-image or body positivity. All right. So what is all that? I grew up thinking that how I thought about myself was normal and usual. I thought, I don't know if most little girls got the same messages that I did, but I was not pretty enough. I wasn't, when I was super little, I was too skinny. You know, once I got to that certain age, then I was always a girl that weighed just a little too much. Or, you know, I have an aunt. I have a sister and 2 cousins, and we're all within 3 years of each other, right? Like as if they were my brothers and then my sister, right? And so one of our aunts, one at a time when we were kids, took us aside and had a very serious conversation with us about, if you don't do something about your weight, like you're going to be disadvantaged in the world. Like people who don't have their weight in hand struggle in the world. Like this very serious conversation. And we crossed our references later with each other to find out that our aunt had the same conversation with all of us. I remember feeling really like all caved in on myself. Like I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. B, I didn't know that like weighing a certain kind of thing could like negatively impact your whole life. And I also felt really powerless to do anything about it. I mean, I grew up in one of those households where we started doing diets. We started doing family diets when I was like 13 or 14. And we did some serious diets. I don't know if anybody remembers, there was something called the Scarsdale diet.
Yes.
It was a 2-week diet plan. Like you had dry white toast and black coffee and a half a grapefruit for breakfast every day. And then you'd either have like fruit salad or, I mean, it seared on my brain. Like who puts little girls on diets like that? But that's what we did. So I just grew up with not a real, I don't think, honest sense of myself. I certainly didn't grow up thinking that like I was okay the way I was. And that however I fell short of whatever ideals that were out there, it was my fault, right? Like I should have done something different. And I just lived like that for a long time. So that's my like snippet of story around all that.
Yeah. My upbringing, I grew up with a mom who was anorexic and who is still anorexic today. So our foods in the house were a lot of almonds and vegetables, and we never had any sweets in the house or anything really, carbohydrates, anything like chips or nothing. And so then whenever we went to anybody else's house, it was a huge feast, a huge binge. So it kind of went into this restricted binging cycle way in the beginning of my upbringing. And me and my brother were always those kids. When we went to the doctor, they were like, well, they should probably lose 5 to 10 pounds. You know, they're not this BMI, you know, when I'm within that range.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I grew up also with a very confused sense of my body
Right.
and what it
right.
should be and who I was, and in comparison to what society was telling me, in comparison to what my mom was telling me. I remember one time, like, we were having ravioli for dinner and she's like, I only have 5. And I was really hungry that night. I always bring it up to her. She always laughs at me. She's like,
Remember that time I
you'll
could
never-
only have 5 ravioli?
It's really upsetting at 6 years old.
I bet. Well, I mean, it is really upsetting when you're a kid and you're hungry and you can't get enough food to eat
Yeah.
for really artificial reasons. Like when I say artificial, I mean like constructs in your head. It's the
Yeah.
reasons why a child should only have 5 ravioli. Like why
Can't I
number?
have 6? What's the yeah,
Although
exactly.
my mother did the same thing with cookies.
Mm.
We were only allowed to
Rations.
have 2 cookies at a time, and that was it. And we always had to pick one thing. We would go to the grocery store to shop each week. My sister liked everything fruity. I liked everything chocolatey.
Mm.
So every week we had to fight over what kind of cookies to get, what kind of cereal to get, and it was the same knockdown, drag out fight in every aisle every week. Do you know how late into my adulthood that I realized that what if we had just gotten 1 box of each and replaced them every 2 weeks? Like did that not occur it just, like, when you're little, you don't know any different, right? You don't know any better. But I had this fantasy growing up that when I was a big person, I was going to get my own apartment and I was going to get, I had 4. Now here's the number thing, right? 4 different cookie jars. And I would get 4 different kinds of cookies all at the same time. And then I could have whatever cookies I would want whenever I wanted them. That was what I was going to do when I grew up in response to this cookie rush.
Big dreams.
I know. So anyway, clearly we could fill the whole hour with this,
Yes.
just Natalie and I. So does anyone have anything they would like to add to the conversation or, join in and share with us? Erlene.
Hey everybody. Yeah, my relationship with my body and like food, whatever. Like I went immediately from ooh, such a chunky baby to okay, that's too much, you're fat. I think around like between 5 and 6. And then like that was the first time that I joined a 6-year-old willingly joined one of those like fat camps for kids. And so that was like every summer until I was like 10. And then that's when like the willpower talk. So it's just like kind of the same talk that you were talking about, like, hey, you're not going to get things in life. And the reason is because you're fat. You need to understand this. And so I think that was when I started like really just disassociating from my body. So it was just like, it's not me, it's this shell or whatever. And I carried that for a long time, and just that kind of knowledge that like, because it was told for like everything, anything that I told my family I didn't get, it was just like, well, can you blame them? It's kind of because you're fat. Like you didn't get that A in class, or you didn't get that job because you're fat. So like I really internalized that for a while, and I think I shift my focus to being like, if I wasn't going to be attractive or accepted, I was going to be the best at things. And that's how, and it was like this weird disconnect, because I was like, I have the willpower to be the best at like this thing that I'm doing. So why can't I lose weight? Or why couldn't I be a little bit prettier? And then I tried to become like really hyper feminine. And that was also a weird time because I was struggling with my gender. So like being in a way where just like, hey, I don't connect with this, but that's the only way I can kind of be acceptable. That was a fun, torturous decade or so. And yeah, and then, there's still moments I'm still disassociating. And there's still, because I was like 35 years of like, hey, if you were skinnier, things would be easier, and anything you don't get somehow related to your weight. And my mom still tries to push that narrative. Like, I didn't get a job like 2 years ago, and she was like, do you think it was because you're fat? No, maybe. So I'm feeling a little better, a little bit more attracted to myself, which is I think a little bit later questions. But yeah, there's still always that like disassociation that I have with my body sometimes.
Yeah, thank you.
Kinky as fuck podcast on TikTok says food was a reward, a treat, a celebration, indulgence, breaking of bread. Food was social. Someone else said, I barely eat because that's what it takes now.
Wow. Yeah. I still have that. I still have that narrative. It's reflexive, that narrative. It's like, it's really entrenched. I mean, if you listen to the stories that we're sharing even so far. Madeline?
Hello. This is my first time speaking in one of these, so I'm scared.
Don't be.
I yeah, I can second everything that people have said. I feel like right now for me, my problem with self-image is also impacting like my like BDSM kinky journey. Like it's very hard. Like how can I negotiate like degradation or something like that when I'm like, actually I do believe what you're saying. Like that feels sort of fucked up of me. Um, so I'm trying to like navigate that. I'm often like very like lighthearted or like joking when I like dig at myself. Um, but I'm like becoming an adult. Like I'm an adult, but like the way that like it's like no long like like before as like a kid, I could sort of like joke about it, and now I'm like, this is not funny. This is not attractive. This is becoming like I want to think about like how I can think of myself better on like a physical level, but also like emotional and intellectual, like how I can like actually think of myself as like a person that I respect. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. I agree with what you said. It's hard. I think that there's a line between like self-effacing humor that is used to own something that's been put on you, right? As a way of taking back your power. And then there's self-effacing humor as a way of dealing with the crushing weight of shame that comes from the misinformation that goes with you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that, the world won't accept you. And so self-effacing humor can be not positive for you. So I think it's great to learn for yourself what's happening with all of that. Cosmo?
A lot of what people have shared has me thinking about like so many instances in my life where I've gotten like messaging about like, being overweight and like needing to lose weight. And I think a lot of it over the years like came from my father. The earliest like I can remember starting to hear stuff was like when I was in fourth grade, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm just like not thinking of like an earlier time than that right now. But yeah, I also when I was after I graduated college, my dad had made a comment about um like something along the lines of like you're never going to find a job if you don't lose weight. So can relate to what you said, Earlene. And that's also just like I recognize that it's like a horrible thing to say to someone. And yeah, super shitty. Yeah, and then also just like dieting, like where either kind of put on me by like other people or myself. I remember in high school, I was put on this like really wild diet where I couldn't eat like a bajillion things. Um, it was by like a naturopathic doctor, and not, I don't want to like say they're all terrible. But for whatever reason, they like put me on this diet, and like, I don't know, my parents just kind of nodded along with it. And I remember that I ended up breaking out like in hives in school because I had eaten um an egg, and I was later told by like a doctor that like my body wasn't used to um protein. So I literally had like an allergic reaction to fucking like eating an egg. Um because my body at that point was like, what is this? Uh yeah.
Yeah.
I have so much to say about that.
Cosmo, can I do a mic check real quick with you? Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
Okay. Chris had their hand up?
Yeah, let's, Chris.
Hi, it's my first time on one of these. I definitely can relate to what Madeline said earlier about learning to respect myself. For the longest time, me and my weight have definitely been a struggle in that regard. And for many years, I didn't want to like look at myself in the mirror because the way I felt about myself. And at the time, I hadn't been diagnosed yet with on the spectrum, so I kind of like conflated the two of me feeling different or not connecting with other people at school or at work or whatnot with the way I look versus me as myself as a person. And I did have to start losing weight for health reasons. And then once I start, I guess I kind of learned to accept myself entirely rather than weight wise and dealing with that aspect. And I kind of like separated the two, I would say, of how I look versus myself and my personality and working to develop that rather than always focusing on the outward.
Yeah. It's tough. The longer, I mean, everybody could probably share, and the more I hear other people talking about it, the crazier it sounds.
Yeah, and it's hard to not connect your self-worth to your appearance and how you look when there are so many people telling you that that's the truth. Um, yeah, and it's not.
Right,
So-
right. Like even just the few people who have shared so far. For those of you who have dropped in, we're talking about body positivity, positive self-image. And of course, at the beginning of this call here, we've been talking about how we all got launched onto a path of having to struggle with these things, right? Like I don't know. I find I have run across people in my life who seem to have been raised by people with healthier ideas about food and eating and body shape and self-acceptance. And I always find it remarkable to run into people who don't necessarily struggle with it,
Yeah,
who don't have an internalized, really a negative voice that says, for whatever the reasons were that that I was given, these are all the things that are wrong with me. Like, and I just, it's like a tape, it's like a running tape that I just have that's like, here's all the reasons why. And I know my story that it's not even like a story I tell them. It's like literally like a voice back here that I can't even tell you is here that just runs. Like the minute anything, I can feel a certain kind of thing. Anything like my clothes fit a little more snugly today or whatever, then all of a sudden the whole narrative launches around, what I'm going to lose, how I'm not going to be okay, like what's going to be wrong. And it's crazy.
What I would like to propose is a question.
Yes.
Compared to what?
Say more.
So you have the judgments, you have the feelings, you have what everyone shared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we're at points of our lives where we can take a very objective look at things and say, compared to what? Like I'm X compared to what? Meaning, what do I believe to be true around that?
Right.
And what am I comparing it to? It's almost like comparing values, right? am I believing someone's word who, if you look at them objective, like as a whole person, what does their word mean to you in relation to what you believe to be true and what you believe to be true about existence, right? It's like, if they're judging you, who are they to judge you?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy people in my case. I mean,
Can I read some comments?
please read some comments, and then, Danielle, I saw your hand. We're coming back to you.
So one says, my parents were super strict and never allowed me to wear makeup through high school. So I never felt pretty compared to all the other girls and never really learned how to put makeup on as an adult beyond the very basics. So now I battle not feeling feminine enough. Then there's another one that says, oh yeah, and I forgot about the slut shaming comments I got from my dad about how I dressed when I was a teenager. And then we go into Catholic parents got me so bad, recovering Catholicism.
I'm with you, whoever that is, I'm with you.
My father's my father's go-to fat shaming was, you need to sew your mouth shut so you can stop eating. Wow, that's really intense.
Yeah.
That's really intense.
My father.
Oh, no,
told me-
go ahead.
My
first-
father told me, because I was on the swim team, that if I ate more food, that I would sink to the bottom of the pool when I was in 4th grade.
Listen,
A lot of early comments come from family. That was
Yeah.
insulting.
yeah. No, my very first ex, we were in the restaurant business together. I was like 19, 20. I'm still a child at this point, but he would say to anybody, and he'd love to catch people doing this. He'd catch a woman in particular, and I used to get so mad at him for this. He'd like, we would snack, like when you're in the restaurant business and like there's extra whatever, you snack real quick, whatever. He would say, a minute on the lips, a lifetime on the hips.
That's a classic.
It's classic ridiculous. It was
My mom still says that.
That's a.
Hold on, I say that. I just said that like last week, but I was joking. So
You're right. All right, I confess. Okay, so Danielle, I don't know where you're at, but I know I saw your hand.
I was just going to say about when Joshua was saying according to, I think that I obviously can't speak for guys, but at least for women, I feel this is according to society as a whole. I feel like it is a massive automatic, once you're born, this is drilled into your head. I think it's according to, you know, model status, what you see out in, you know, in magazines and whatever nowadays, you know what I mean? I think that's where that according to comes from. But I also think that, you know, it's not going to, I don't see people's opinions changing, you know, according to, or according to today's day and age. Like when we have models come in, we have a very specific model. Even though we talk a lot of shit about inclusivity, we talk a lot of shit in my company about different sizes, etc. And but every single time when somebody walks through the door, when a model walks through the door and we pick them, they are white, very young, very thin, blonde hair, blue eyes for the most part. And that's like, it's a huge battle, but that's, I feel like, where it comes from is what we see. What the standard is put out there is started apparently with Twiggy, or in that time frame where ultra thin became the absolute. And unfortunately we haven't strayed from that. I mean, yes, we've made leaps and bounds, sure, absolutely, and my company isn't the say all for sure, but the the leaps and bounds we make are just simply not enough, that I don't think we'll see much movement in that in my lifetime, unfortunately. Like, that sucks, but also I don't give a flying fuck about what people think about my body. Sure, it gets to me because I'm also indoctrinated in that thought process of, you have my height. I'm 4'11". I should be like maybe 98 pounds according to my BMI. I mean, if I was 98 pounds, it would be a rough, I know what I look like at that weight, and it's sick. That's what I look like. I look sick. But
Yeah.
and therefore I don't give a shit. I am healthy. I'm doing everything I need to do. My blood work, my doctor visits prove that I'm a healthy person, and I'm also fucking happy. like I had pizza tonight and I fucking love pizza. I'm not going to give that up because of a social construct of you need to be. Fuck off. I need to be me.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about it when you brought up Twiggy. I was thinking about, people don't realize this, but Marilyn Monroe was a 12. She was reported to be a size 12. Twiggy came out right after that. She was like in the next decade, and so we went from 12 being voluptuous and sexy and all the things that everybody held like Marilyn Monroe up to be, to the whole like 60s mod into the 70s, skinny, emaciated. And I was thinking about what, as you were talking, Danielle, it's like I think people consider it an uptick in positivity, that we've gone from considering size 0 to be the ideal to, I don't know, maybe a size 2.
Well, in the 90s, it was that, I'm sure you remember this, Cat. In the 90s, it was like that serious, like heroin chic, super skinny, like looking sick, all that shit. And we've come away from that, but we haven't come very far. We've just painted it with makeup. You know what I mean? I feel like in the way of a body type. But you know what? Like that's also, I don't know how to fight it other than what we're doing now, which is go fuck yourself. I'm not going to change for you.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you don't have to be with it.
Right. Right. Not everyone has the internal intestinal fortitude to fight off their own voices, like as a steady diet. Ren?
Absolutely. My steady diet is like, I say all of this, but that's at the end of the day. In the morning when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, Jesus Christ on a cross, look at her. You know what I mean? I'm like, I beat myself up. Everybody does. Self-deprecating humor, Madeline. I heard you. I saw you. That's like my how to get by. That's exactly what I fall on is that. But also I strive, and it is a battle every day, but I absolutely strive to push that fucking away from me, push that mindset away from me.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I knew I might hear a word of positivity from you on this subject tonight. Ren, you have your hand up?
Yeah. So I grew up with a mother that at 5'7", she drilled into you that you could weigh 100 pounds for the first 5 feet, then 3 pounds for every inch over, minus 10 pounds, sometimes 20, depending on for camera weight. Like everybody's going to be a model. She's 83 and still does that.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a lot of brain space.
That takes up that's a lot of
brain
math.
space.
That's a lot of math.
Yeah.
And
right.
Great if you want to run on some kind of crazy ideal for yourself, but that's quite a construct to put out there on the rest of the world.
Right. And the other thing that I wanted to say was, how things are set up in society is that you can't ever win. So if, as a female, and now they're pushing this on young men, especially the metrosexual thing is, you have to be ultra thin and you have to do all these things. Also, weren't getting enough money evidently out of women, so you have to tag men as well. But what the problem is, you can't ever win, because if you get down to that weight, and the only way for a lot of people to get there is through anorexia and or bulimia. And then when you do that, you're sick and you were stupid. And why did you ever do that? So all these messages in society are set up that you can't ever win.
Yeah.
I have more to say on that, but I won't. I have a lot more to say on that, but
Grace has her hand up and we can always come back.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to pick that up, Ren. Well, society. You guys have heard me say this before. Society, right? So first, to what you were saying earlier, Kat, about the Scarsdale diet, and so I was a big kid, right? So at 13, my father, who watched himself, he's like, take her to the doctor, and they brought me to the specialist on Park Avenue, and and I remember this, and I remember traumatic things. Apparently, I just recently found out. I took 21 pills a day. They were called DEAR, Daily Essential Amino Acid Requirements, right? The fuck? I'm 13 years old, okay? Like I'm about to get the period and all that stuff. So then this genius doctor is like, okay, your breakfast is a hard-boiled egg and one piece of toast. For lunch, you're gonna have some carrots and some celery and an apple. Maybe you could have a slice of toast with a little peanut butter on it. And then for dinner, ready? 13 years old, 3.5 ounces of chicken, fish, or turkey, and vegetables. That's it. No potatoes, no nothing. And they're forcing this down my throat. I'm like, oh my God, it's too hard to be skinny, like. So once we get through that, and it was a metabolic blood kind of my insulin level, whatever, and that's why I was gaining weight quickly. And then we try to get past that. We go through the teenage years and, you're too fat. Oh, but you have such a beautiful face. You should lose some weight. How about you go fuck yourself? Thank you. And then into the 20s. And now like we're out there, we're hanging out and here's more pressure because now the outfits don't work right because you're a little heavier. And remember at that time, it was the tights with the leg warmers, like that was a big thing. And if you were a big girl, it was a great look on you, according to society. And then we move into the 20s and 30s, and now we're in our 40s and 50s, and then it's a whole new tub of shit, right? Because now it's like, oh, well, now there's wrinkles here, and now there's this jowl thing hanging here, and this little thing here. Like, and back to what Ren was saying, and also Danielle also, that it's society. We cannot win. We cannot win. And, sometimes we have parents that are supportive and all that, and then we have others that are just like, toxic, to that situation. And Ren, I'm just going to say, you said 100 pounds for the first 5 feet, right? 3 pounds after. So my metric back from years ago was 100 pounds and 5 pounds for every inch. So I'm so sorry. 3 pounds for every inch. So I'm 5'7". My ideal weight then should be 135 pounds. I will tell you, the lowest I ever got to was 155, and somebody said it here, I looked sick. People at work were like, girl, what's going on? You don't look good. I'm like, you can't win because now I'm too skinny. Like it's maddening, but like Danielle, we just have to make the decision and be cognizant of the way we're speaking to ourselves. And it's a battle. It is a battle. I battle it every day on many different layers of life. Stop this thought, stop this behavior, and don't take shit from people, and that's all that we could do for ourselves. But it's a fight, and that's why I say like we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. And I think if we just continue speaking our truth and uplifting everyone else with that, also that we'd be doing something good. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Leif.
Someone on TikTok said, I became a mother 6 years ago and I struggle with body image, with my body image. My partner isn't as attractive.
Oh, I feel you. My third marriage, this is when I start sounding like Elizabeth Taylor. It was the longest relationship I'd ever been in. And I weighed similar to what I weigh now when the relationship started. And then I got depressed, like clinical bad depression. That was like, I was on disability. I was suicidal. It was bad depression. Then I got put on some medication, and then I was on disability for a year. I literally, all I could do was like get through the day. Ice cream was like a good friend to me during that period of time. And during that period of time, I probably put on about 35 pounds. I went from about being an average of 130 to 40 to 190. And suddenly I was with a partner who did not want to have sex with me at all anymore. And I couldn't get him to say that it was because I'd gained the weight. And I knew for a fact that's what it was. And I would say things like, you know what, I would feel so much better if you would just at least say, tell the truth. And he would just like kind of about it. But it's like,
so we have two hands up, but
Yes.
I want to ask a question.
yes.
How can a person be supported in pushing you through that? Past that?
Love and acceptance.
What does that look like?
It looks like saying, I love you just the way you are. If there's really genuinely, because okay, in some very rare instances, there are some medical things that are attached to food, or if there's allergies or whatever that needs to be addressed medically, that's one thing. But all of this other judgment about like, oh, I'm just concerned that you're not going to get as far in life as you should, and none of that. You know, love me how I am, love me for who I am, and then be honest. Like in this case that I'm talking about, like tell your truth, be honest for your side wherever you're at. But the support is to say, I love you just the way you are. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do a thing different to earn my love, to earn my affection, to earn my, you know, to be worthy and loved and supported and cared for. And if you do have something that needs to be addressed, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I'll help you. I'll support you, whatever you might need to get through that. Even if it means including evaluating the information, right? If some information comes in that says, well, your weight is X, Y, and Z, is that really true? Is my weight negatively impacting me? Or is that just some line of BS that's coming in at me? And if you love me and you want to support me, you'll help me evaluate that information objectively.
Yeah. And I asked that because it's something that we've
Mm.
talked about
Mhm.
a number of times with my belly and the way I feel
Mm.
about my own body and how supportive you guys are when saying you love my belly and you touch it. And you touch it in a caring way and it's supportive. There was an experience I had a few years ago with this gentleman who he goes, Joshua, I love your gut. And I didn't know how to respond to that, right? Because I felt called out for not being of the body shape. But then his incredible level of appreciation for it was on the far end of that other spectrum. And I didn't know what to say or do about it. You know, I said thanks, but also I pointed out that the language hit me different because that's the wording that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
No.
He complimented a part of you that people never really compliment, no? Or
Yeah.
in society, it's like stomachs are so like, we need to look this way, and if it's not this way, then we don't want to compliment it in any other way.
Yeah.
And that's like the furthest from the truth for me too, right? And how, like, I think the most, and I speak on the belly particularly because it is the most vulnerable part, I think, on most of the people I've ever connected.
I was just about to say, if we did a poll right here, right now, probably every hand would go up.
And that's a level of that to be able to touch someone's belly, to me, is a level of vulnerability that they share with, right? And it's like, it's incredibly personal and underappreciated.
Well, when you think even of puppies or kitties, like the biggest show of their trust in you is when they give you their belly. Like that's the most sort of visceral, sort of intimate thing is to expose your belly. And yet I have lived in, you know, I can't tell you, like the hate, it's not even love hate, it's the hate relationship I have with my own belly, with my own midsection, with my own constant drive over all the years to try to dress it a certain way or cover it a certain way or make sure that I'm wearing layers in a certain way so that my belly doesn't look as big as I think it, you know, like blah.
Dress for your body type.
I have a whole other narrative around just my belly that like I could go on about. But
So we have Erlene and
and
Cosmo and then Danielle.
Erlene?
Just finding the mute button. Yeah, I think all of that, like my belly and all of that's kind of like this weird jumbo soup. And then another part of it for me was talking to people. I remember somebody told me, well, it can't be as bad for you, like your body image, because you know, Black people like thicker people. So like, and I understood that they were trying to be like, there's some place of acceptance, but also like just separate from the invalidating. I'm like, that's just not true. And it also felt like, you know, all those, I also like saw a question earlier when I was looking at the question about intersectionality, is that like, then my feelings and my sexiness, my relationship, my body were like, that's another door, another space that I couldn't talk about it, or it's not real. So it kind of just added to that fun jumble of like, kind of back to Josh's earlier question of, you know, according to who, like, who gets to, like, who does this magical, mythical comparison that I'm supposed to be.
I like that. I'm sitting with it. I like the idea of having an internal yardstick that, like, according to who, right? To be able to measure those voices up against, like, who gets to say. That's a really great tool.
Because it brings me back to when I was struggling with dressing more feminine, more authentic, and that part of myself being more feminine. And it was like the disrespect I was doing to myself, showing myself by not allowing myself to be empowered by my truth. And it's like, how else are we disempowered? What's the question that we're missing in body positivity that will really change the perspective in which we're approaching this question?
Huh. That's a really good question. Cosmo?
A few different things. I wanted to also share from like a period of time when I was in college, where I was like working out 6 or 7 days a week for like 1 to a few hours per day, and was like dieting. And I like lost a chunk of weight. It's actually the same period of time where I started having panic attacks in my life. And that period of time was the worst as far as like frequency of panic attacks. I was having them like probably like 4 to 6 days a week, and as many as like a few panic attacks a day. And I remember my therapist saying like, oh, so like, do you exercise? And I was like, I'm doing so much exercising. I'm doing all the exercising. Like, and she was like, oh, that's so weird. Like, it should kind of like reset your baseline. Like, and I'm like, no, sometimes I literally, like, I go to the gym and I come back from the gym, and not long after, it's like, I don't know, it's like I crash from the runner's high and would go into like having a panic attack. Or I could have a panic attack before I went to the gym, would go to the gym, would feel better for a bit, and would crash and have a panic attack. But yeah, now I've like thought about it, I don't know, some more, and kind of learned more about like eating disorders. I don't know if I necessarily had like an eating disorder per se, but I'm like, oh shit, like maybe I was having panic attacks because I was starving my body. Like maybe that has something to do with it, because now one of my biggest triggers for panic attacks is when I forget to eat. So I'm like, why, how, like, I don't know, how did like nobody catch this? Like, and it's so it's also like frustrating. I just wanted to like mention the um like health professionals don't always like give the best advice and don't always know like what to say. They don't always know what's going on. And that can be frustrating. Um, I also wanted to touch on, and I can drop a link in the chat, but um I wanted to touch on the concept of like body neutrality versus body positivity. Where like body neutrality focuses more on just like accepting what our bodies can do and like accepting our bodies like as is. Whereas like body positivity is more about like feeling positive about our bodies. And I like the concept of like body neutrality and the movement around that more, because I think it's like more realistic. Whereas like body positivity comes across to me sometimes as like toxic positivity, where it's like, oh, we just like have to like love our bodies. And it's like, but like, what if we don't? What if we can't do that every day, all the time?
Yeah, no,
That's not real life.
that's for real. I get that. I know I see 3 hands up, and I just want to throw this one idea out. This question, how can or do we actively engage in positive conversations about body image, both personally and within communities? Just for the last, we have like another 12 or 13 minutes, yeah, of this call. So I thought maybe we could just move towards solution oriented chit chat for a second. Kieran?
So my dad was a PharmD. He was a pharmacist, and he used to ask me all the time when I was younger, when I would start getting emotional, when was the last time I ate? And it wasn't until the last few years where I started working out and tracking my nutrition that if I'm hungry or I start getting weak, it's like, oh shit, I gotta eat. Because and I go through periods where I don't want to eat, but I'll drink egg whites and that just to keep the protein up. But for me, my mental health, the hunger or lack of eating compounds my mental health issues. So it's really important for me to eat. And so there's that. And then as far as healthcare professionals, I go to the VA, and this VA here, because I put on weight, I mean, I'm over 50, I'm postmenopausal, it happens. You could you could put up a good fight, but it's going to take a little bit more. And they were all like, well, you need to do the keto diet. You need to do the keto diet. And I was like, do you have any idea what I do? That's unsustainable and it's unhealthy. So I fought back against the healthcare professionals to the point where I went to patient advocacy and reported them. I was like, what they're telling veterans to do is not sound advice. They're better off learning how to do balanced meals. And so one thing I learned to do over the last 3 years is, and I didn't realize how much it impacted me. I mean, I could eat up to 2,500 calories a day, and I'm eating like all the time. But and I get bored with it. And as far as positive conversations, Kat, with the gym, I have some friends that compete in bodybuilding. Dude, we eat all the time. Our asses hurt from shitting sometimes. Sorry to be gross, but I mean that's how much food we eat, and we talk about it, and we talk about their body dysphoria that they have, and they push themselves to some crazy levels. But it also sets realistic expectations of what our body can and can't do. Like I fight with my stomach and my butt. It's just the stomach is the hardest that I'm ever gonna lose if I ever even do it. So it's a mental balance of acceptance versus I'm gonna continue pushing myself, well, physically just because I need to keep going, rather than getting old and decrepit that I fight. And so, but I just wanted to tell you, like, the with my mental illness, what Cosmo was saying about her panic, that was extreme fatigue, and I had to learn how to take rest days as well, because that's where your body recovers is during rest. Anyway, that's all.
There's a comment that says, I don't get hangry, I get anxious. Anyone?
Yes. Yeah, I just want to curl up in a ball to tell you the truth, but
No, I know. I saw it in the chat too. I'm like, that's dope because I get all of that.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Thanks for letting me share.
Not only there.
So I actually have a positive thought, which is really, really cool to me. And I just like I've been listening to you guys, and like I know like Kat and Arlene, you guys have like said stuff about your body that like I feel like you would never think about me or about anyone else. And like I did the same thing. Like I said something, I'm like, yes, like I am my biggest bully. Like I am the most critical about myself. And it's like I can't imagine considering someone else the way that I am considering myself. And it's like, why can't I give myself the same respect that I give to other people that I interact with? Um, so if anyone has any tips, I'm taking notes. I would love.
I do think that we can gently and carefully, supportively encourage ourselves in each other Like when I hear you say, not you particularly, but if I hear you say something negative about yourself or speak about yourself in a certain disparaging way, because I think this can be spring loaded, right? Like I think it's important to step in and say, I don't see you that way. I think you're beautiful. Whatever it is, rather than, well, you shouldn't talk to yourself like that. Like more shame on top of shame.
Yes.
Like that's not the right way to do it. But there is a way to step in and say, I hear the language you're using to talk about yourself. I would never talk about you like that. I don't even think like that about you. And I really would love for you to not have to feel like that about you too. Right. Like in some way to just support ourselves out of our negative,
How can I be more?
What do you mean?
No, like what are some things that I can say? Should those things come up, or that I can do?
I'll have to think about that. I don't know, particularly as it relates to you. I don't know. Because I do think that a lot of us too are really good at being like the negative, like we are all talking openly about our voices here collectively in this 1 hour, but for the majority of our lives, we go around the people we love and care about, not letting, like these voices are not outside voices. These are inside voices, right? So, I don't know. I'm going to think about that for me specifically, so that I'm not just saying something generic, right? Like, but I'll think about that. But I do know that kind of support has always support for me in anything, particularly when if you can't beat me up any harder than I beat me up, don't try.
Yeah, that's a guess.
All right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to help me. Like you beating on me with a bigger stick than I'm already using is not going to move my needle an inch. It's not, I'm not getting anywhere closer to healthier, happier, anything, because you think you're helping me by whatever. Like, well, what our parents did, like, well, you just should go to the gym more. You should just eat more carrot sticks. I don't know what it was about carrots and celery in the time we came up place, but oh my God, you'd think that they were like magic. Maybe it's just that they didn't have much in the way of calories, but yeah, like that. Don't come at me hard. Come at me super soft, because that's a really great way to disarm my voices. You can disarm my voices by being really nice to me, because my voices are not used to a narrative that involves me being nice, either me being nice to me or me expecting other people to be nice to me.
Yeah, and a lot of those voices for me are illogical. Like I would tell myself, like if I ate this, I would wake up the next morning and be 5 pounds heavier. And a lot of what has helped me is to kill those illogical thoughts with logical thoughts, and to listen to podcasts and read up and talk to people and find the real truth that is not being told to us by anybody other than having to search for it.
Yeah.
So that really helped me in terms of gaining a better understanding of who I actually am in this body of mine that I get to occupy.
Yay. Right? Which beats the alternative, right? Like we get to occupy bodies and have human experiences. Like, yay.
And we get to move them and have fun with them in many ways.
So Britt, I see your hands up, and then if we still have time, Danielle, I'm coming back to you.
Hey everyone, sorry I was late. I like what you just said, the logical with illogical, because with OCD therapies, that's something that we use often, is when you hear something that's extreme, is to battle it with logic and kind of say it back. So I think that's interesting that you said that. I love that, because I literally do it on a daily basis. I shared this a few weeks before, but I'm going to say it again because I really do love it, is that I heard someone else saying that she has had a picture out of herself when she was a little girl. And most of us, not everyone, but most people, when they see a child, speak very gently. You speak very calm. You're very encouraging. You're very light. You're very understanding. You have compassion because it's a child. And so a lot of people, including this woman who had shared it with me, said that she had a photo out of herself as a child. And when she would have one of those nasty thoughts or those harsh thoughts or irrational thoughts, she would turn around and look at the photo and say, would you say that to her? Say it again. Say it to that little girl. Because you are that little girl. That is you. That is your person, in a different state, in a different time, but that is still you. So speak to yourself in the way that you would speak to a child or to your best friend or, whomever it might be. But when you're looking at it, it is quite clearly and obviously you, even though it is still a child. So I thought the connection of both was pretty powerful.
I like that. Because, it's like when you started it, you were saying like, as if you would talk to a child. Like I was not necessarily raised by adults that like knew how to speak to children like that. but I know that I
Right.
can side of myself, an adult that would never speak to a child like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like yourself, how you were never talked to,
All right.
how you wish you were spoken to.
How you wish you were spoken to, exactly, for those of us who weren't exactly raised in super gentle families. But we have an example, like a lot of people, we see examples of that in our everyday life of would that be acceptable if I walked into Whole Foods and some child did this? If I was just like, and said something nasty to you, you'd probably be like, oh, it's okay. No, it's fine. I got it. You're fine. I understand. Just a mistake. You know, it's just like another way of approaching it. It works for some people. So
Thanks.
Yeah.
We have 2 minutes left. Danielle, did you want to say something? No, you're good. And of course, I ran down here with not enough time to have looked up what next week's topic is going to be. So I'll lay off the voice inside my head that says that that's a fail.
Keep them busy, keep them busy.
Keep them busy, keep them busy. No, I mean, thank you. This is not always, these topics like this are not always the easiest conversations to have. And what I love about this group that shows up every week is that you guys show up every week willing to have the hard talks, right? And to be honest about your own experience, right? To really share from a deeply personal space. And it's what I find so nourishing about this hour.
So 2 things. One, the folks from TikTok said, thank you very much for sharing so vulnerably that they deeply appreciate what they've heard. And it was very validating for a lot of folks. So thank you guys again. And next week is setting and achieving goals. Setting and achieving goals.
Setting and achieving goals. And listen, I'm as we speak right now this week, I'm getting ready to do the next round of topics for next month. So if you've got anything you want to have kicked around for an hour by this lovely group of people, send it out to us.
Another thing we're gonna do is moving forward with this one, and we're gonna add them to the past events that we hosted. But we're gonna post what the topics were on Facebook with the questions. And what we would love for you folks to do is to come in and drop in answers to the questions. We'll make sure that we can have answers posted anonymously so that you can share openly without having to give your identity away, but to share your story and see what other people have to share too.
Cool.
I guess that's news to her.
It is Kinky Conversations 2.0, the new improved version.
We spoke about it last week, but you were on payments.
Oh, yeah, last week doesn't count for me for anything. Yeah. Yeah, no, until Thursday, it was pretty much a wrap. So if it happened before then, that's a no. All right, it's 7 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you next week.
Hey, Kat. I just wanted to let you know that we're able to be authentic because you have graciously and bravely provided us with a safe space to do that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, everybody, we
Have a
will
good one.
see you soon.